All right, we appear to be live on YouTube. This is 12 Volt Talk, and just checking in with everybody here to make sure. I'll stop sharing the screen for a minute here. Make sure that everybody can hear us okay. So, everybody who's on the stream, just let us know if the audio sounds okay. We'll do a round robin real quick.
Yeah, check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3.
And Ethan, if you guys can unmute just for a second, just to give us a quick check.
Hey, yes. Check.
All right, AmpLab is in the house. See if we get a little response here from the peeps. All right, we got some sounds, nice, all that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and share the screen. And Rob, you want to do the countdown?
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2. 12 Volt Talk, episode 20. Joined, as always. I messed it up. I'm sorry. So we got HiFiVega in the house here. HiFiVega, youtube.com/HiFiVega. Joined, as always, by my good buddy, BigDWiz.
What's up, guys? BigDWiz here. YouTube.com/BigDWiz. OldSchoolStereo.com. We are in the house tonight with TheAmpLab.net. We've got Ethan and Troy here live with us. You guys can unmute and we'll get an introduction from you. So how's it going tonight, guys?
Going well. Troy, Ethan. I think our YouTube is YouTube /TheAmpLab. We don't actually use YouTube a whole lot anymore, so I almost forgot.
That's cool. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I know you're busy, school and work and trying to keep people happy with their broken amplifiers that you guys are fixing up. Thanks for taking the time out. We want to kind of go ahead and jump right in, I guess. So we'll just ask both you guys if you can go one at a time. I guess, Troy, since you're on my left, you can go first. Sure. Just tell us a little bit about your history in car audio and anything you want to talk about maybe your first system, anything like that.
Okay. I was trying to think back at this when I actually got into car audio. I mean, it was obviously in high school, but I couldn't remember who actually influenced me to get into it. I think it was my friend Kevin, and this was back when, everyone had like big wings on their cars and body kits and everything else. And he had this Corolla, and he was all Rockford. He worked at a local stereo shop, and I used to hang out with him all the time. And I'm pretty sure he's the one that got me kind of hooked on it. But I think even before that, my first system was, embarrassingly enough, a home sub with an inverter hooked to it. In my, I think I had a 91 Lumina. I think that's what I had in that. So yeah, that was a pretty good one. And then from there, I can't even remember what I moved on from there. I think I had some crappy, I don't want to say crappy, but I had some cheap Audiobahn subs that I thought were awesome back then. The flame subs. Thought that was like the coolest thing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those flame throwing Audiobahn subs. I know Rob, you're a big fan of those, right, Rob?
Yeah, man, I actually love. I had one of those tins back in the day, and I love that thing. Man, I don't know if I'd love it now, but in the day at the flea market, it was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, hey man, everybody's got to start somewhere, we don't judge here. So Ethan, what about you? What got you started into car audio, and maybe who's the person you looked up to that made you want to get interested in it?
Well, I don't remember what happened first. If I saw a Steve Mead video first, or if I heard my older brother's system first. But one of those two things happened. I think it was my older brother's system. He had a Jeep Wrangler that, he'd have to cart me around places sometimes. So I'd ride in the back of the Wrangler, and he had a Rockford P200.2 bridged on a I think it was an old Phoenix Gold 12 in a really poorly made sealed box, but it sounded awesome to me. And that's when I kind of fell in love with bass. And Yeah, that's what got me into it. And then my first system was when I was probably, I think I was a junior in high school, and one of my classmates, he said he had these 212s that he was going to sell me for $20, and like I couldn't pass up that deal. So it was two VR312s that, you know, the Walmart subs, right? And then I actually had my own Jeep Wrangler, and I got some 5-gallon buckets, and I screwed those babies into the 5-gallon buckets. My dad got me a Clarion amplifier from a pawn shop, and yeah, that was my very first system. And then my first like major system, like the first one that I got exactly what I wanted and put in my car, I got two Sundown X12s and a Rockford T2500 BDCP and in my Grand Am. And that was my first one where I was able to actually purchase what I wanted to run.
Yeah, that's a serious system right there.
You ain't joking.
I was just thinking about the 5-gallon bucket deal. You probably didn't realize at the time, but if you would have caught video or pictures of that, you probably could have, you know, made a lot of views off that, because those are very popular. I guess a lot of people do that. Rob, you do that?
No, I've never done it, but I've thought about trying to do it with like one of those sono tubes.
Yeah.
Do something crazy with one of them. That'd be cool.
Yeah, the home systems. I know a lot of guys use those for home subwoofers.
Yeah.
So what about your current systems? 'Cause I know a lot of us, me included, you know, I don't have a factory system, but I don't have exactly what I want in my car, and it's just time management, trying to get things done versus what I need to do in my vehicle. So do either one of you guys have a system in your car right now? Can you tell us what you have?
Okay, so yeah, I have a system right now. So I guess that's just how this whole thing works. When you do it every day, you don't have time to focus on your own stuff. So neither one of us really have a system. Actually, I take that back. I have my wife's old system that I bought her when we first met. It's 2 Kicker CVRs in a sealed box with a Kicker 400 amp. And that's in the Jeep because I'm just using her old Jeep. She got a new vehicle and I took hers over. So I kind of adopted the system. So that's about it though. I don't have anything nice in there right now.
Yeah. So we asked that question partly because people want to know, but mainly to shame people because nobody has a system in their car that works in 12 volt, it seems like.
Nope.
So my daily driver, right? I don't have anything. I have a radio so I can Bluetooth, but I listen to like football videos on it all the time. So, but in my summer car, I do have a full JL system, and I think it sounds really good. It was done right and dynamatted all over in the car, so that one does sound good. But my daily driver, nothing.
Yeah, it's like one of our good buddies says he's got $3,000 worth of equipment to listen to AM radio and podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens to a lot of us. I know I have a lot of stuff sitting around that I'm not using, and it's a shame, but it's just the way it is. It's all about, you know, what you have time to do and what other responsibilities you have.
And I always had stuff in my car all the way through until I started working at a stereo shop. And then I think my first system, I was so excited I got an employee discount that I bought a pretty big system. And then after that, it just dwindled to nothing.
Yeah, so with that, we didn't really talk about how have both of you worked in the 12 volt industry. Like, did you work at shops or before you started the AmpLab? I think, Troy, I heard that you did, but I didn't know Ethan or.
Yeah, so I started working at an actual stereo shop in 2005, just a little ways away from where we are now. And yeah, that's kind of how the AmpLab started. Is people kept bringing amps in that were broken, and there's nowhere around here that fixed them. So we put in new ones at the shop, and then eventually I would ask them what they wanted to do with the old one, and they'd just say throw it away. So I started taking them home and tinkering on them, and got a couple working, and started selling them on eBay, and then it kind of grew from there.
So I've been in school like always forever. I've never not been in school. So, but no, I actually started in school. The reason I've been in school forever is because I've changed my major twice. So I started in school for business economics. I thought I was going to be like work with like stock trading or work at a bank or something like that. And then I realized it was a little too lifeless for me. And so I realized I couldn't do that forever, but I also didn't know what I wanted to do. Then I thought I wanted to work with like training people and like with diet and nutrition. So I went to school to be a dietitian for a year. And then I realized, all right, that's too much people. I don't like people that much. So then I was like, I can't do that. But by that time, we had gotten fairly serious, or we were starting to get serious with the AmpLab. And I really liked that. So an actual local community college versus the universities I had been going to, a community college had a program that was, similar. It was applied engineering technology. And so I didn't even want to go to school anymore. I just wanted to work on the AmpLab, but my parents convinced me I needed to keep going to school. And so I just decided to go with this community college, and I actually really, really liked it. And so now I'm back at university going for my bachelor's in electrical engineering technology. And yeah, and now doing the AmpLab. But I've never really had a real job outside of the AmpLab.
I don't think we actually touched on like how me and him got together with the AmpLab either.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and tell us, because I'm interested to hear that story.
This kind of goes on from where I was at with taking in broken amps from the shop I was working at. Eventually, I started to do more, and people weren't coming in with them as often. So I started going on eBay and buying broken amplifiers. Well, then Ethan, I don't remember how we actually met up, but he brought me some amplifiers to repair so he could resell them. And then we ended up finding out that we were bidding on the same amplifiers on eBay against each other and just raising the price for no reason. So we decided to pair up and just do it together.
Yeah, and we did that for a couple months, but we wanted more amps. We wanted to make more income from it. So what do? I call up Sundown. I'm like, hey, we want to buy your amplifiers so that we can repair them and resell them. And they're like, yeah, we've already got a guy that does that. And so that kind of sucked. I was in class, and I don't know if I got a call from Brian or I got an email or something. They're like, well, our guy doesn't want to take in any of these amps. So we have 20 NS1s that you can buy, but you got to buy all 20. And I wasn't even repairing at the time, actually. I had not repaired an amp. I was only selling and like dealing with customers and stuff. So it was all him. And I don't think he had done anything bigger than like a 1500 probably. Yeah, like a 1K to 1500. But we had a chance to buy 20 NS1s. So we did it. We bought 20 NS1s, and we couldn't fix any of them.
At first. It took us a little while to learn how they were working. But yeah. I think
that was a sizable investment, I take it. You don't have to tell us how much, but I mean those amps retailed, what was it? They were $17.99 or so a piece?
Yeah, it was quite a bit.
That was a lot of money.
Yeah. And that's kind of why we kind of joined together. We both put in half and went from there.
So you stopped bidding against each other and started working together. That's a great story.
It's frustrating. We had to keep calling dibs on the amps we wanted. Like, no, I want that one, and he'd say he'd want it. And yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and then you get in there and wait and just snipe them at the last second.
Well, you can't tell who you're bidding against because the usernames are like coded until the auction's over, and then it kind of shows up. So we couldn't tell we were bidding against each other unless we communicated.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah. So that sounds like collusion.
That's one of the negatives I've noticed about growing the community and educating people about the gear that's really good. Is when you do that, all of a sudden everybody sees a video that you've done and they go to eBay and try to buy it, so the prices start shooting up. So that's why I stopped buying stuff, because things are so expensive now, especially the old school stuff that Rob and I like to buy. It happens.
Yeah.
But I'd
like BMX.
Yeah, like BMX. We'll get to that too. I want to keep talking about the amplifier stuff, but I kind of want to jump a little bit into YouTube first. If we can get into a little bit of that, then we'll go back to the AmpLab. You can tell us more about the repairs. But when did you guys get started with YouTube, and what was your goals behind it? Was it just education? Was it just show people what I'm doing? Was there any particular reason why you started the YouTube channel?
So the YouTube channel started as my personal channel. It wasn't the AmpLab channel. And if you look back at my videos from like 2010, I think was my first video I put on there. has nothing to do with car audio. In fact, probably the first, I don't know, 10 or 15 I put on there have nothing to do with car audio at all. And then, yeah, I started doing the repairs more often and started videoing them. And I think I might have even seen one of your videos on there. So I kind of didn't, I don't want to say copy, but I kind of went, oh, I could do that. You know, I could test these amps and make a video from it. And I started to do that. And honestly, I feel bad because I really don't have the time to invest in it. So I would say it's mostly for fun, but I should keep up with it more, but I don't. I don't post a whole lot on there, and I really should try to do that more. But
Yeah, the people who haven't seen
yeah,
Troy's, I won't call it an amp testing machine. I won't call it the AD word, but he made a very impressive machine that has the resistive loads built in, and it switches the ohm loads using relays. And did you use the Arduino with that one, Troy, or how?
Yep. That it is Arduino based. So, and that was kind of getting into just playing around with Arduinos, and I needed a project to do, and I just kind of thought of that, and it works really well. We still use it to this day, and we're building another one too.
And you guys got a couple of videos up there showing that, don't you? Because I swear I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
you
I
guys
just
should check that out.
And how I did it. So, yeah.
Yeah, the informational videos too with the, what was it, Hiphonics, and there was another brand, and you were showing how similar they were, and you know, it's really just two different brands of the same amp. And
I got so much divided comments from that. Some people were really happy that I showed that, and then other people still swear up and down that one's way better than the other.
With people threatening lawsuits, and you got to take that video down. And
well, I like the Lancer one too, where you show the fuse going to nothing.
Yeah, that was great.
I was like, oh my gosh, I've shared that so many times, man.
That was great.
I think somebody commented that that's purposely there for a spare fuse holder.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
yeah, for the price you pay, you know, it should come with a spare fuse, I guess, because you're not getting much else otherwise. But yeah, those videos are cool. I know you don't have time, much time to do it, and you know, I never get upset when I see other people do testing videos, because I want more of this information to go out. So I enjoy seeing other people test them and seeing different, you know, especially you guys that know a lot more about the amplifiers and repairing them. I enjoy seeing things like that. And, you know, it's just cool. I'm sure that you guys obviously load them down and test them before you sell them. And people, you know, every day, can you test this amp? Can you test that amp? I'm like, I don't do this all day during the day. If I did, I could test a lot more. But, you know, maybe just get you a little camera and throw it up there and just, you know, do some real quick videos that don't take a whole lot of time. I think people would appreciate it.
Like a live test every time we test one. Just turn the camera on and let it go. So,
yeah, Sam from Bear Vids does that a lot, and it seems to get a good response when he's doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, he also does his repairs, and I mean, sometimes the videos or the live streams are a couple hours long, but he just goes through it and does it. It's kind of cool because he'll find his mistakes and everything else, and other people will tell him things as he's working on it. But yeah, that's cool. So I know you guys are like, you know, one of the official repair centers for Sundown, so I'm not trying to bring up any specific brand, but I didn't know if you guys had any favorite amplifier, you know, old, new, it doesn't matter. You know, just, is there anything that stands out to you that you just kind of like, maybe because of design or how durable it is or anything like that?
Honestly, we really like that. We started on them and we hated them at first, but the original NS1s are great. They can take good vibration damage. A lot of people, the newer designs with the FETs that are vertical aren't as good against vibration damage as the ones that are laying down. So the old large case amps are actually a lot better against that than the newer versions. They are starting to improve that with a lot more board support in some of the amps. So we don't see it as often anymore. But when a lot of amps started switching to that design, we saw a lot of vibration damage. So those old NS1s, that now we've done so many, they're so easy for us to work on. We can rebuild them in no time, and we love them. I like those amps a lot, actually. So, if we have a favorite amp.
Oh, personal favorite?
Sure.
Yeah.
I like the Rockford T2500 VDCP a lot. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
That had a lot of engineering go into it, and the design is really impressive. How they did the constant power is really impressive. Just how they designed their output, the switching on it. I haven't seen another. Have you seen another amp like that?
No, I mean, a lot of the Rockfords are similar design based on that amp.
But none other like.
No.
Yeah, it's a really cool design.
Yeah, we got to go in with Wayne last week, and he kind of told us about, some of their processes, and, they're really world class when it comes to that type of stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Even though I like to give Derek a lot of hate about the old Rockford amps.
Yeah, he does. I don't know what that. I don't understand the hate. I mean, if you guys are a little younger than us, you don't understand the Orion Rockford battle from the 80s and 90s. It was like, you were either an Orion guy or you were a Rockford guy. You weren't both. So
Yeah.
I get on Rob's goat because I like both of them. He just can't stand it. So, but he still buys Rockford stuff too. So he likes them.
The guy I mentioned that kind of influenced me to start with, my friend Kevin, he was a huge Rockford guy. And then another friend of ours who I met shortly after that and actually got me into kind of the competition side of it. We had to rock the block every month here in town at one of the other stereo shops, and he kind of got me into that. He was a huge Orion guy. So they were always going back and forth at each other with Rockford versus Orion. So it's funny you say that.
Yeah, that's
So
the age-old comparison. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. So as far as stereo systems, do you guys consider yourself more towards the sound quality side, more towards the SPL side, or somewhere in between?
I'll let you start with that one.
So I think people that know me would understand this very well. I don't have any ear for sound quality. I can't tell the difference. I can tell if it's like screeching, if it's like way too bright or something, or like stuff like that. But I can't tell anything with sound quality. My ears aren't made for that. So I'm definitely more SPL. I like feeling the bass. That's what I really like about car audio. But yeah, I can't tell if one system sounds better than the other because of some tweak or something. So
yeah, I'd say my ears aren't the greatest either, but I struggle with this one. I think that's part of the reason I don't have a system in my own vehicle is because I go back and forth whether I want a huge SPL vehicle or I want something that sounds really good. And it's really hard to have both. You almost can't have both at the same time. So if I was able to build a company vehicle, like a shop vehicle, I would definitely have it SPL. And then I think I would put something that's more sound quality based in my personal vehicle to listen to on the way home.
I know exactly how you feel because when I have a sub in my truck, no matter what I'm doing up front, I'm like, oh, I'm listening to this nice music. That bass knob's always there, and and you cannot help but, especially when someone gets in and wants to see it, they don't care about, yeah, can you hear the nuances in her voice? And no, they just want to hear, they want to see what it'll do.
Exactly. I think the SPL side of it's more fun, but if I'm alone by myself in my vehicle, I'd rather have sound quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more impressive to show people, if you've got a real clean install. I like the stealth looking installs myself, but I'm not a great fabricator. Mark, I'll have to watch some more of your videos. But, I like to have the thump when I want it, but I've got to have room in the trunk for groceries and other stuff too. So I can't take up the whole trunk, but nowadays we're spoiled. And I'll tell the story real quick, but Rob, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the early 90s, Phoenix Gold showed off this new subwoofer. It was a servo-powered 8-inch sub that they said had the output of 4 15s. And this was not a April Fool's joke. This was based on Pro Sound, and this was going to be the next technology that was coming out. Well, once I heard about that, dude, I didn't buy anything for years. I was waiting for that 8-inch sub to come out that sounded like 4 15s. And guess what? It never came out. I'm still waiting for it.
Well, they did the Cyclone, didn't they?
Yeah, the Cyclone, but it was definitely not
Yeah.
that. But yeah, anyway, so we're all kind of in the same boat. We like to hear stuff. I don't have the best ears either. I can tell the screechy highs, but I like a little bit of boom. and some trunk space.
Yeah.
So let's see. Do you guys, either one of you, collect amplifiers? And if so, do you have any like special amps that you enjoy, or do you just buy and fix and sell everything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even own any personally anymore. I mean, we just consider everything that's here is ours. So we don't have any personal amps, and I don't hold on to anything. If I don't use it for a little while, it's gone. I sell it or throw it out or something. I don't hold on to anything.
I am not a collector really either at all. I don't, other than what's in my summer car, I don't own an amp. So they're all the shops that they're. But the one amp that I don't want to sell that I want us to use is that JBL Crown we have. That thing is really cool. Getting the powder coating done was really, it looks nice. And I really hope we get to use that in a cool install.
I was all ready to sell it, but he wants to keep it. So
yeah. It's an expensive wall ornament right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful amplifier. And it's one of those that even seeing a picture or a video, even compared with something to show the size, you just can't grasp the size of it till you see it in person.
Right.
No.
Everyone said that's come to look at it in person. Even with the pictures that we've posted, that you can't tell how big it is until you actually see it.
Yeah, no, but that was a cool video that you guys done where you actually took the time to tear into it, because that is not an easy task.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about, though. I never made the follow-up video to that, putting it back together. I was so anxious to get it back together that I just did it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody who saw my video when I tested it wanted to see me take it apart, because you guys, I started taking it apart, and then I saw I had to flip it over and flip it back, and I said I can't do all this by myself. So I'm linking them to your video so they can see the teardown, because you guys did a great job pulling it. I mean, you took it all the way down to the boards, and you guys like recapped it and cleaned it, and I mean,
I actually started to recap it, and all of the caps that I tested, they're really hard to get off. Really hard to get off. The planes that they're soldered to are huge, so you need like a hot air gun and a really high, powerful soldering iron, so you don't ruin the pads. So I took a few off in different sections and tested them, and they were still all well within spec. So we actually ended up putting those back together, and I just freshened up a couple other small things in there, but I didn't end up recapping the whole amp because I didn't really need it.
And the way that one's designed with the transformers that kind of go, the transistors that go around the transformer, I mean, that's something, have you ever seen that before in any other amp?
Not at all.
Super cool.
Totally unique design.
It's really wicked, and it's very powerful too, and it's one of those amps that, you know, the numbers don't tell everything, and I can't explain that, but you know, when you put amps like that on a couple of high-powered 18s or something, then compare it to like a 10K amp, you know, it's like the JBL has just got the juice, you know, even though it's only got single 1-aught inputs, which is mind-blowing, but
yeah,
it's a strong amp. So do you guys have the bass knob and everything with yours or not?
We don't. Nope. Missing that and missing the RCA cover.
Yeah, anyone that's watching, if you have an RCA cover for this amp.
Yeah, because I think I had just gotten rid of the extra one that I had. So yeah, if anybody out there has a spare RCA cover for the JBL A6000, make sure you hit up the AmpLab. I'm sure they can give you a credit or something for amplifier repair, so you can help them out.
Definitely.
So speaking of that, let's move on to the AmpLab. You guys told us a little bit about why you started, because you were buying broken amps on eBay and fix them up and sell them and make a little bit of money. But you know, I guess why did you decide? I guess there's a huge market for it. Maybe there's just a lot of amps that need to be repaired. Is that why you guys started, or any other reason why you started it up?
Like I said, it kept growing slowly. I didn't expect when I started it that it would go anywhere past the local area, you know, just an amp here and there, really. And then, yeah, the demand was there, and we've doubled every year since we've started. So, and it's still going. We just hit our, 4 days ago, hit our double mark for this year compared to last year. So, yeah, I did not expect there to be this much demand for a repair center. I just assumed when I started they were all over the country, they were everywhere, and that's just not really the case. So
yeah, I kind of started it because I was kind of already like buying like stuff local and flipping it for some extra money because I'm kind of spoiled and I wanted a flexible schedule, so I didn't want to have to go get like a regular job. So so I wanted a flexible schedule. It was making decent money, and I'm in school, so I kind of need a flexible schedule to an extent. And then I started to really like it and found ways to make it more profitable, and it's just worked out good for us.
Yeah, I was still working a full-time job, even when this was going pretty busy. I'd work there until 5:30 every day, and then come home and I'd work till 1, 2 in the morning doing amp repairs. And eventually, this became more demanding than my everyday job. So I ended up leaving that in March of this year. So started doing this full-time. But we completely outgrew our old facility, which was my house. We started in a little spare room, and there was still a bed in there at the time. And then we added another bench and got rid of the bed, and then pretty much all the furniture eventually moved out of there, and it was just an empty room with shelves full of amps. And we outgrew that, so we moved into a little storage room, kind of overflowed our amps into that. And then that overflowed into our downstairs living room. And then that was full of amps and shelves and parts and everything else. So it overflowed into our breezeway. So we had to get a new place. It was just, we had to. So now we have this new shop that we just moved into in October. That's much, much larger. So.
Awesome. You guys are living the dream then, huh? Now.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah.
Hey, that's what we all want, to live the dream.
Yeah.
So as far as repairing the amps, I know you guys do a lot of the Class Ds, but do you do Class ABs as well, and do you prefer any topology of amp over another? I know you probably like what you do the most, but is there anything that you prefer repairing over anything else, and what is your, I guess, ratio to Class Ds to Class ABs?
We do way more Class D than we do Class AB. I don't know if I prefer one over the other. We're just really familiar with Class D, so we kind of know the inner workings of them, so it's not a big deal. But Class AB are actually sometimes easier to diagnose because you can follow that signal right from the input right to the output devices, and it will look like an audio signal basically the whole way. You can't do that with Class D. So
yeah, I think Class AB are way easier.
Yeah,
they're way easier. We, like you said, we are really familiar with the Class D now. So like some amps we could do blindfolded, like the one I'm doing right now, like this SCV3K. Like we just know any problem it's gonna have. We know it really well. But if it's a new amp and we have to troubleshoot it, a Class AB amp's gonna be way easier.
Absolutely. The only thing I don't like repairing so much is very large Class D amps, because I don't care who you ask. It's pretty much a try it, and if it blows up, you did something wrong, or
you didn't do
you didn't do anything wrong, and sometimes they just do. They're very finicky. Once you get over like a 7K or 7500, you pretty much just have to, there's no way to really test it until you put the output devices in, and at that point, it's just flip the switch and kind of close your eyes. It's pretty scary. We have earmuffs and blast shields that we put on and everything. So.
We hired a new guy just to flip the switch for us.
Yeah.
You guys have got to have the cameras running for that, because I can tell you, if one blows up in your face, that would million views easy.
Yeah. Like guns will go off easily.
Yeah. So do you guys have any like known problematic amps that you don't like dealing with, or something you see more than anything else?
You're trying to get us in trouble.
Outside of Sundown.
No. No, just like I said, any of the really large Class Ds are just kind of super sketchy. When they work great. When they don't, they're very violent. So, yeah, those ones are the only ones and I don't like doing old Rockford or even new Rockford BD amps. They're just a really weird design. I don't know how they thought up that system, but it's a very hard design to troubleshoot.
So that's the gray ones you're talking about before the recent ones, or are you talking about the BDs before the BDCP versions?
No, yeah, the old and new, they kind of use the same idea. They use rail switchers and output switchers. So It's just a really odd design. It's hard to troubleshoot sometimes. So.
Gotcha. So I see on your website that you talk about not repairing Brazilian amps. Is that the case? Is there a reason behind that?
One of us does.
Yeah, Ethan doesn't mind kind of trying them sometimes. I don't love them. For one thing, when you hook them up to our test equipment, it makes it go crazy. Our load bank is completely isolated. The electronics are completely isolated from the power supply that runs the amp, and it makes the load bank go crazy. The LCD screen will go nuts. It'll show weird temperatures like 400 degrees and then like 10 degrees. Sometimes it'll change the load by itself while you're testing the amp. So it might go from a 4 ohm load down to a 1 ohm load and you don't even notice it. Yeah, so I don't like working on them, but
I will say, I don't want to put down a particular brand, but I will say the Bandas are actually decent. I really don't mind the Bandas.
Yeah.
I don't think the Bandas are bad at all, but maybe some other brands that we won't name are probably not quite as easy to work on.
I guess one of the other reasons too that I love working on is if something goes, if you do mess up, let's fail or something like that, they're extremely expensive. That's how you get these so small. Those output devices are capable of way more than just your output devices. So very expensive. Yeah.
Your audio got real sketchy there.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hopefully that. Rob, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, I think
the Brazilians heard.
The Brazilians heard and they infected your signal because it like went super whack.
Probably a Brazilian amp laying on the floor in here somewhere.
I was just gonna say something about, it's official that when you have a Brazilian amplifier in there, it's possessed. Yeah. So you got one in there somewhere that's taking over the microphone because it went whack. Everybody who's listening, sorry about that because it was really loud there for about 10 seconds.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. So, how many amps do you repair on an average day? Is it multiples? Is it 1, 2, 5?
It's hard to judge because we also, now that we have this new facility, we have a full service audio shop now too. So we're not always in here repairing amps. But I would say if we spent just the day doing amplifiers, depending on what they are, probably 4 or 5 a day maybe.
So it really depends on what exactly is wrong with it.
Yeah.
So like I have another 3K right here. I'm gonna grab it, show you guys. I'm sure people would like to see it. So I just repaired this, and I still have a screw in it. But I just repaired this. It's a Sundown 3K. It just had rectifiers broken from vibration. Someone probably put it on their box or something. But it probably took me like an hour, hour and a half. But I know it really well. I knew exactly what was wrong with it. So if it was like a bunch of 1Ks or something, we could get done a ton of those. We could get done like 6 or 8 of those in a day. If it's an NS2 that needs a full rebuild, that might be a whole day affair.
Yeah, that's just 1 amp a day. Yeah.
We might only get one of those done.
Just the time disassembling and reassembling those things is a big part of it. It's not so much fixing it, it's just taking it apart and putting it back together.
I think that's very important for people to realize too when they get a quote for an amplifier repair, because a lot of times they're thinking, oh, it's only this little part I see that broke off. Well, there you go. He's shaking his head, and you can attest to this. Both you guys, I'm sure, can, that when people post stuff and say what's wrong with my amp, you can't answer that question without having it on your test bench, right? So please help people explain that you have to diagnose, not just look at a picture, right?
Yeah. We have a lot of amps come in. You look inside and it doesn't look like anything's wrong with it whatsoever, but it could need a complete rebuild, all outputs, all power supply, everything. So you can't just look at an amp.
The only thing I would say pictures are good for is sometimes we can help see if it's like so burnt up that it's not even going to be able to be repaired. But those are so few, like that's so rare anyway that it doesn't really matter. So most of the time, pictures are almost useless.
Oh, we had that 340 in here. It's burnt all the way through.
Oh,
Or we had one in here, but
yeah.
I don't know where it is.
So you guys said you have a full service audio shop now? That's something I didn't know.
Yeah,
you do
we
installs and all that type of stuff?
we do.
sales?
Yeah, exclusive audio, and we do remote starters, car stereos, amps, subs, light bars, whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was it called again? I didn't hear it.
Exclusive audio.
Exclusive audio. Okay.
Yeah, I figured we got the space, and I did this as a job for 13 years. I might as well use the space.
Yeah, it's smart.
Yeah.
So do you have a separate website for the exclusive audio, or is
We
it just something you do locally?
Yeah, it's just a local thing. We're not doing anything online, not promoting it online, just locally. So it's really just to, honestly, it's just to pay the light bill and the rent. That's kind of all we care that it does. Our main business is the AmpLab, so that's sort of an extra thing.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
smart. Diversification.
Yep. We do a lot of stuff that the other audio shops won't do. So like I know for a fact most of the shops in town will turn down most European vehicles, you know, BMW, Mercedes, Volvo. So we'll take those in.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So on the amp repairs, you kind of attested to it a little bit before about maybe the vibration causing some of the issues with amps, but you know, a lot of times we'll see people talk online and through various places on the internet talking about, you know, does the amp work at 0.3 or 0.5? Do you guys have a lot of people who, you know, damage amplifiers because they hook them up incorrectly ohm load wise?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of that though is they hook them up with an extremely low ohm load without the battery and alternator to support it. So it's not always the outputs that go. A lot of times they kill the power supply. So because they're doing that.
So I know everyone is an expert, and no one ever wants to be told that it's maybe something on their end causing the problem. And I'm only going to go back and forth so many times. If they don't want the advice, if they don't want to check, send it in. I'll charge you the bench fee. You know, I'm trying to help you, but I mean, you got to help yourself a little bit too. So I don't know how many, but a lot of amps come here with absolutely nothing wrong with them at all. Like
Perfectly fine.
a lot. I wouldn't put a percentage on it. Yeah, like a lot. And one of my favorites is amp, and I don't remember what he said the original symptoms were exactly, but he said, which is very common, and it's usually a wiring error. But you know, he said he did all the testing he could. He sent it in. Of course, we got it here. It worked absolutely fine, no issues at all. Told him it's something in his system. He was getting really frustrated. He received it back, hooked it back up. Same thing, very frustrated. He can't get any output. He's like, I'm turning the volume up and it's drawing my voltage way down, but my sub, I'm not getting anything out of it. And I was like, oh, that is weird. But then I was like, I bet he's got it out of phase. So it's one sub and he's got the coils out of phase. So basically he's just sending a ton of power through his coil to make it go nowhere, to hold it in place. So he was a little embarrassed when he figured that out, but he was also happy that he didn't have to pay a repair bill. Even our bench fee is way less than our repair bill is going to be. But that was one that I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, a lot of times people don't think about that during their troubleshooting process. They're saying, hey, does it have power? Is it on? Have I got a signal to it? But they don't think about how they hooked it up to the sub.
Another really common one we get in is amp doesn't work. It's they got the master slave switch in slave mode.
A bunch of them will come in like that.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we can't count on box rise. You know, we're just going to load it down to 0.3, and then, you know, it's going to box rise at some point.
Yeah.
That's what I hear anyways. That's what I see on the internet.
Right.
You can count on it, and we'll be waiting for the amp. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys can support it just enough so that you'll get some more repairs. Hey, go do what you want. You know, just looking from the outside in, I can see the whole electrical part too is a problem, because I see a lot of people, you know, willing to spend the money on the amps and the subs and stuff like that, but they do not think about, you know, the electrical. They want to use CCA wire. They want to get the cheapest wire they can get. They don't do any other electrical upgrades. And guys, you can't run a 5K amp on a stock electrical system. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work.
What do you mean? I run my Boss 5K on CCA.
Oh, he didn't. He just didn't go there, did he?
Yeah, we had a guy in here. He bought a 3K from us because his old amp died, and stock electrical, single battery, and wanted to run it at half ohm. And I helped him hook it up, and I hooked it up at 2 and told him not to wire it down until he got his electrical to support it. And it was like 2 days later, he called us asking how to wire it down to 0.5.
No.
Yeah, I'm sure he read online somewhere that's where he could get more power, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
For a little.
Yeah, so do you guys have, and I know we may have covered this some, I don't want to, you know, recover things we've already talked about, but maybe you do have some ideas on suggestions that people who use amplifiers, things that they should avoid in order to keep the amplifier from becoming damaged.
Well, that would hurt business.
The Brazilians are watching.
Yeah, basically don't hook it to your enclosure unless it's extremely solid or you're running very low power.
Shout out to Taylor Fade. He's adamant that vibration's the worst thing for an amp.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's watching, but
yeah. Even if it doesn't break the amp, if that's not what killed it, when it comes in for repair and we need to start moving those parts out of the way to get it out of the case, they're very fatigued, and you can tell if an amp's been in a system that's been hooked to something that vibrates a lot. Even if none of the legs broke, you move them and you just barely touch them and they'll fall right over. If it hasn't, they're nice and stiff, and we can move them back and forth as many times as we need to repair it and get it back in the case. So yeah, definitely don't hook it to your enclosure.
I've got another story. Story time.
Geez.
I've got a million stories. So there was this guy, and I don't know how much money he had. It seemed like he had a lot of money. He drove a Range Rover. He seemed to not really care about how he treated his equipment, but I don't know for sure. It just seemed like he had some money. But so he came to us and he wanted to buy two Sundown 6Ks, but I could tell he wasn't like super knowledgeable about the setup, and he was asking questions and stuff. And before he played it, he was like sending me pictures of the process and hooking it up and asking. And he had both of the amps mounted to the box. And I was like, no, do not. You got 12K of power right there. And I don't remember what he had, but he probably had like 415s or something. So, you know, it was going to be loud. It was going to be vibrating a lot. I was like, please get those off the enclosure. A day, maybe 2 days later, neither of his amps worked. And it was obviously our fault because the amps we sold were no good. And so we got the amps back here and they were destroyed. The vibration had absolutely destroyed them.
Oh yeah,
I think
screws coming out of the end plates, everything.
Oh, bad. I think when we originally repaired them, it was like only a bad power supply. And when we got them back, the vibration, it just broke everything. They just needed to be totally rebuilt. And so,
yeah,
that's the story.
I guess you maybe don't put the caveat, or do you, in your repairs, that if you notice it's vibration that caused a problem, is that something that's not covered under your warranty, or is it too hard to tell?
Vibration's easy to tell.
Yeah, vibration's very easy. We'll usually not cover that, or we might give them like a discount or something for redo it again. But yeah, sometimes people just keep doing it. They just don't care. They just keep sending it back, and we just won't cover it usually. But most things we will. Most things are really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell if somebody wired their sub to like 0.25 or something like that and blew the output. It's extremely hard to tell that. So we'll cover that stuff. But vibration is very easy to tell.
I wanted to add to that. He just reminded me. The story goes on. Same guy. So the amps blew up again, and he was determined he had it all right. I think the first time where it was vibration, I think we gave him a discount or something. And then the second time we weren't sure, and I think we covered it again. And then third time it came in, I'm like, I'm not covering it again. Like, we're not going to keep repairing these. So he paid for it. And there was a fourth time. He sent it in a fourth time. And I think we gave him like a deal on the fourth time or something. I told him, I was like, if it doesn't work after this, there's no deal. You're going to pay a full repair price if it comes back again. Because we sent him a different amp. We board swapped it. We sent him a totally different amp. And within like a week, it wasn't working. And so he sent it, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but he sent it to another good repair place because he was certain it was us. And I warned the guy. I was like, just be careful with this. We've repaired this 4 times. It's the guy. And he was confident in his repair, and he does do good repairs. And so he sent it out, and like a week later, it was blown up. It was a different amp. It was repaired by someone else. You can only do so much.
What year model Range Rover was it?
It was newer.
See, I would have had a different thing. Like, please don't put 12,000 watts in this Range Rover. Forget about mounting to the box. Like, don't destroy this car.
Yeah.
All right. So, gosh, man, I've seen this thing in EXO's car a while back, and I know Troy, you and I talked about this. Man, it's a couple years ago, but when you were talking about the Megalith, and that was a very intriguing device that you guys were working on. If you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about it, and then maybe kind of what happened, why it didn't progress any further with it?
So, I mean, that's kind of when lithium was starting to gain some ground, and we wanted a compact battery, but a couple things we wanted on it were built-in fusing, because you have all these external fuses on your system to put that inside of the battery case, make it a little bit more streamlined. And then also it had a bunch of had 4 grounds and 4 powers, so you didn't have to use distribution blocks. You didn't have to load up 6 ring terminals on one post. And I thought it was a really good idea. The problem was production. We started to 3D print them just as like test ones, and we bought a big 3D printer, and it would take,
like 72 hours.
Yeah, it was like 72 hours, something like that, to print one case. And we had multiple where it would get to like 98%, and it would freeze, or the power would go out, and it doesn't just resume. You got to start over again.
Yeah.
So that was a pain. We ended up only making three of them.
There's 3 in existence.
And we were going to have the cases manufactured like in China, but the cost of the mold, just to get the mold made, was like 50 grand.
Yeah.
And at the time, we just didn't have the capital to do that. So we kind of put it on the back burner, and that's kind of where it stayed.
Yeah, that was really cool. I remember when you guys come out with the video, and all of the ideas, you can tell someone that's worked in car audio. And much like when Steve Meade makes his design, or Ed Lester does his design, you can tell because they put common sense things in there for the installer, the DIY guy.
Yeah.
And I hope at some point maybe you guys can get back to getting those out.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah.
I know it's got to be frustrating, all the time and energy you put into it, and then kind of run to the roadblock, of the mold. And
it did. We
Yeah.
thought the 3D printer thing would work out. We didn't realize. We actually bought a 3D printer that could print 4 cases at once. But just the calibration involved every time we needed to print one, and the waste, you had to build so many supports in the mold, or into the print to support as it was printing it. There was a lot of wasted plastic, and it wasn't feasible to sell to anyone. So we have a couple of people that we know have them. Brian at Sundown Audio has them. EXO has one, and then a friend of ours has the only other one. We don't even have one anymore. And yeah, that's as far as we wanted it to go, because it was a really good idea. It just wasn't ready for production. So.
Well, maybe things will turn around, and you can jump back on it. Maybe have somebody help you out with the mold, that could do it a lot cheaper. Because I could imagine $50K.
Yeah.
That's a lot to throw into it.
Yeah, to get the actual parts made was nothing. It was just the mold. It was expensive.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how dangerous those lithium batteries can be at that size. There's some companies out there that are really throwing these things together
Yeah.
in a way that's not cool at all. So,
Right.
you know, when you buy lithium, make sure you're getting it from a reputable source.
Yeah.
I prefer to pack mine with a flammable expanding foam.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've seen the video.
Plenty in fingers.
I think we've all seen the video.
Yeah.
The same.
So you mentioned a little earlier, Troy, about your amp testing machine, and
Yeah.
you might be hitting a version 2 of that. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the changes that you're planning on making or that you've made?
Not a lot of huge changes. Basically, we just wanted to be able to test lower loads. So the original one I built was back when I first started, again, working on like maybe 1500 watt amps. And I didn't need to go anything lower than 1 ohm back then. But now we want to see what some of these amps will do at half ohm. And so, yeah, I'm rebuilding it just basically to support a half ohm testing load versus the 1 ohm load. So, and I'm making it a little bit more compact. The old one I built out of, I don't know if you can see it in the background there. It's out of an old computer case. So it's a lot bigger than it needs to be. So the new ones are going to be a lot smaller too.
So what kind of power capacity are you building into the new one? Like how many resistive banks are you using?
So there's 8 1000 watt resistors in there, but we've known from even testing this one that has 4 in it that they'll take way more than what they're rated at for short bursts. I mean, we put NS2s to this, so we've gotten 12,000 watts through there, no problem, and they take it no problem. So
That's one of the things the Chinese underrate is their resistors.
they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you can get those. I don't know how hot. What do you use for a load bank? I can't even remember.
So the amp dyno has 8. I think it's 8 of the 1,000 watt braking resistors in there.
I think there's more than 8 because he's able to do for the 2-channel. I think there might be 10 in there for some reason. I thought there was 10.
You may be right. Yeah.
Yeah, I use the braking resistors too, and even the 500 watt one. I've tested, the biggest amps on it, and it really doesn't even get warm.
We get this thing pretty hot because we test them for long periods. It's not just for a power test. We run them for 5-10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Get a lot of power going through them. So we've gotten them up to like 500 degrees.
So that probably helps with the. Do you got a fan? I'm sure you got a fan in your computer case, maybe.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I need to work on the version 2 is the cooling. This one does not cool itself very well. If you can see it, like I said, I don't know if you can see it in the background, but we have a little plug-in fan sitting on top of it because it gets so hot. We have to cool it down with extra fan.
But you guys are fooling around with the big amps. I'm messing with the little bitty stuff.
Yeah, it does have a nice temperature meter on it, so we know when it's getting way too hot.
You can usually smell it too.
Yeah, you can smell it.
Yeah, and the old Korean buzz.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to be near an amp, and that's the cool thing about switching to a battery bank as opposed to using a very loud power supply. Is now you can hear every little quirk of an amp when it gets to that screeching point of turn me down.
Yep.
And you can't hear it on videos a lot, but if you're testing it, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, we've had some amps though that even at lower power ratings, they make all kinds of popping and crackling and everything else. And I think a lot of that's with the resistive load instead of active load. But yeah, we just did some MA Audio 4000s in here, some older ones. And at like 300 watts, they were making it sounded like popcorn inside, but it was fine. They worked fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but that's just how they are. We did 4 of them. They were all the same.
I guess
Man,
they're thinking.
Go
ahead, Rob.
Derek doesn't look very fast, but I've been at his house when he's testing amps, and when he hears that, he's got a kill switch set up, and he's in there, man. He's
Yep.
Yeah, you can prepare yourself all you want for an amp to blow up in your face, but you're not prepared.
We've had a few.
Yeah, you got to keep those cameras rolling though, because that's your big view opportunity. So I'm looking on your site, and I don't mean to be flip-flopping here, but I am, so sorry. But on the site, I noticed you guys, you have several different amplifiers that you sell. I guess a lot of them are the ones that you repair, but you also sell some new equipment too, amplifiers and subs. Is that right?
We do. Yeah, Wolfram Audio. We sell new. We're a pretty pretty new online dealer for them. They're a pretty new company. So, yeah.
Yeah, that Arctic Fox.
Yep.
That's pretty slick, man.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty
If
cool.
you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go to TheAmpLab.net and go to Amplifiers and Wolfram and look at the W4500 Arctic Fox edition. It's got like a whiteboard, clear plexi bottom.
Yeah, Arctic Wolf.
Arctic Wolf. What did I say?
Fox.
Sorry. Arctic Fox. Arctic Wolf. It's a pretty slick amp, and it's a tried and true underrated 4500 watt amp too. So you're getting the power plus some. And they obviously picked a really good design for the Wolfram amps, and I think they've been doing pretty well. I've heard a lot of good things about them. I've tested a few. They're solid amplifiers. So Rob, did you have any other questions that you wanted to ask?
So were either one of you into BMX before you got into car audio or started driving?
I didn't hear that.
So were either one of you into BMX at any point in time before you started driving?
Yeah. So is this something you found out about me, or is this just a random question?
So Derek and I, a long time ago, found out that we're both huge BMX guys back in the day. So now, we kind of it seems like everybody that was into old school car audio rode BMX, and then they got into car audio.
I thought I saw this question on your paper you sent me, and I thought you guys were stalking me or something. How would they know? No way they didn't know this. So yeah, I was into the late '90s and early 2000s. I was pretty heavy into flatland BMX.
What'd you ride?
I started out on what the heck did I have first? A Diamondback Joker, which wasn't even a flatland bike at all. But that's what the local shop sold. So they sold Diamondback, and that was the closest to a flatland bike I could find there. Pretty cheap Diamondback. And then I upgraded to a Titus Flatliner. And then I had a KHE Messerschmitt. That was my favorite bike of all time.
So you had some pretty exotic bikes then, really.
Yeah, the KHE and the Titus were German bikes. So.
Yeah. I started off with a Girls Pink Performer GT Performer.
Oh, I did have a GT Performer too, way back. Yeah.
And, I was into dirt racing.
Yeah.
I picked it up there. There he goes. You got I bought it for $50 off a girl.
The white mag?
Yeah, with the white mag. And matter of fact, I ended up breaking both of them different times. And then I went on to a Redline 360. Once I got that, I was in heaven until it got stolen.
I had some old school bikes too before I got into flatland. I had an old Elf. I don't know if you guys remember that brand, Elf.
Yep, I remember the Elf.
And that's one of those bikes I had in pieces in the garage, and I really wish I didn't throw away because some of those parts are worth a ton now off those old Elf bikes. But yeah, I had the white mags, and yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. We're not truly stalking you, but we do ask that question for most people just because, like Rob said, it's really funny to see the number of people who were into BMX before they were in the car audio. And even though it was a different time frame because you were late 90s, early 2000s, and I was like early 80s, early to late 80s, there's still it was still huge. Back then it was really big. Now you have different bikes for different stuff. Back then you just bought one, put pegs on it, and it was a freestyle bike. Exactly. It was a racing bike during the weekend, and you take the pegs off and you could use it for freestyling during the week.
Yep.
Well, as long as you got the bear claw pedals on there so you can destroy your shins.
My shins are scarred permanently from those things.
I think we all got that.
I did a little bit of dirt jumping back in the day too.
Never slip a pedal with a bear claw.
Yeah, no, it was bad. That's so funny that you came across that. The only thing I could have thought of is I still use an email called Flatland Freak BMX is the beginning part of it, and I use it for all the crap I need to sign up for that I know they're going to send me stuff. So, but I've had that since I was 14 years old. So I thought maybe you came across that email or something.
Well, Well, I did stray off at some point into the rollerblading, but don't tell nobody.
We now know.
Yeah.
So I did come across a question real quick before we end the podcast. Somebody, and this is relevant, obviously. Where is your shop located?
Our shop is in Fairfield, Maine.
Fairfield, Maine. Okay.
Central Maine.
And somebody else asked, do you have Instagram? Do you guys use the AmpLab on Instagram at all? Or do you even do Instagram?
Yeah, I need to be on it more, but honestly, I was actually doing it decently through the summer, but then my semester hit with school, and with school and here and life outside of school and here and everything, it just pretty much everything else became a pretty low priority compared to getting my work done I need to here, going to school. Because I'm not just going to school full time, I also have school 75 miles away. So it's like 600 miles plus just driving to school and back a week. So like pretty much any non-essentials became pretty non-essential. But when I would like to use the Instagram more. And we do technically use it, but it's just been very sparse lately.
Yeah, I just asked a question the people asked me. So the best way for people to get up with you guys, do you prefer them to go to your website, theamplab.net, or do you Facebook contact you there? What's the best way, or either one work okay for you?
Use the business AmpLab or our contact, but please don't message me personally.
Yeah.
And I'm not like ignoring anyone. There's just too many people. I won't even be able to use my personal Facebook if I try to talk with everyone on there.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to be rude about it or anything, and I'll nicely ask people to use one of those contact forms. But yeah, either our website or our AmpLab Facebook is the best way to contact us.
Yeah, we used to have a phone number on there too, but honestly, phone for what we're doing doesn't really. It's usually a long process, so it's nice to document everything. I ask him all the time, can you go back and look at the emails for this guy and find out exactly what he said was going on with this amp? And you can't do that if somebody calls you. So.
You know, plus I get horrified if I see someone calling me like, what are you calling me for? Can you not just send a text? I got messenger, I got text, I got email.
Yeah. Yeah, some people think it'll be quicker over the phone. They just want to call and get it over with, but honestly, it's not. A couple messages back and forth is a lot quicker than a bunch of phone calls.
That's true. So we'll link in the video description here, the YouTube video, to both pages, the amplab.net and also your Facebook page. That way people can get in touch with you guys. And I guess if they have a broken amp that they don't want, you guys may want that too. I guess they can just send you a message. If they need a repair done, hit you up. If they need some Wolfram subs or amplifiers, you guys have that. Check out, you got some t-shirts and stuff on your site as well, and some other accessories too.
Big thing is too, we take trade-ins. A lot of people don't know that. If they have a broken amp and they want to upgrade to something new, we'll take the broken amp in as a trade towards something else. So.
Yeah, that's a nice little deal there, because people want to upgrade all the time. And the other thing that I think I mentioned it before, but just to reiterate, when you guys do your repairs, you do have a warranty that goes along with that repair. I think that's important to state. And you guys obviously are known that you do quality repairs too. You're not the next shoddy guy here on the corner. And there are some other reputable people out there that are doing repairs as well. I didn't mean to put anybody down, but I'm just saying that people can trust that when they send their equipment to you, that you guys are going to stand behind your work. So
yeah, we have a 90-day warranty on all of our repairs and used amps. If you buy a used or refurbished amp, it's 90 days.
Yeah, so that's good to hear, because sometimes you just don't know what you're getting when you buy things from other people online, and saving $50 by buying it from Joe Schmo versus buying it from somebody like you guys who are reputable. I think it's probably well worth the extra dollars spent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, cool. I think we've come to the end here of the podcast. Rob, do you have anything else you'd like to say, or do we want to talk about the reviews on Apple
That's
music
what I wanted to
podcast real
say.
quick? We'll do that real quick, and then we'll finalize this. And those who are on YouTube, make sure you stick around, and we'll let you guys ask some questions for Ethan and Troy.
All right, so we have 53 reviews on our Apple podcast. We're trying to get to 75. Will be our next. We've already given away one subwoofer to be at 50. Get to 75, we'll give another one away. Get to 100, we'll give away an amp. Big deal, give away an amp. So just keep doing that. It helps us out. Helps the podcast be found.
Yeah, we'd like to be found. You know, Rob and I are doing this, and with the help of people like Ethan and Troy who are taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us, and you know, we get them here on the map for them being a little bit more well known than they already are, hopefully, and it helps us build up a library of digital content for 12 volt, which is what we're looking to do. So again, if you haven't joined us on our podcast, you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Google Play. There's also some other podcatchers that you can use that'll pull up the RSS feed, but just look for 12V Talk. You can also look up BigDWiz or HiFiVega, and it shows up as well. And check us out there. You can subscribe. We try to drop the podcast every Sunday, so that way on the way to work Monday you can listen to us, because I know you don't have anything better to do in your car with your stock stereo system. You listen to us thinking that you're going to have a big subwoofer in the back, but, you know, we can all dream, right? So check us out there. And also, every Wednesday we try to do a live stream, youtube.com/12vtalk. We're trying to have more guests on now, and hearing from people like Ethan and Troy and TheAmpLab.net and what these guys are doing. Thank you guys for helping out the community with your amp repairs. We think you found a great niche, and thanks again for taking the time to join us tonight. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Hopefully we can do it again someday.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you back once you get your school finished and everything's calmed down some, and
Yeah.
you got 20 different brands in. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So for now, we're going to sign off with the podcast. Again, if you're on YouTube, make sure you stick around. So until next week, BigDWiz and HiFiVega.
We're out here.
We're out of here. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to scroll through the questions real quick. And anybody who is on the stream who has asked a question that I don't see, go ahead and ask it again. I'm going to scroll back through to the beginning. And Rob, if you see one before me, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through now. Let's see what we got.
I can tell people really like the screeching that came from the Brazilian ghost that got in your room there.
That's right.
I think some people are listening in their car and they're like, dude, you're killing me.
I haven't
No,
made it that far.
Ethan doesn't have a bad mic cord. The microphone is built into his laptop, so that's not the problem. Let's see. Rick says, I respect the guys that can build or repair amps,
Nice.
because not everybody can do either one.
We think we can.
Let's see. Rob, have you seen anything yet?
I'm looking. I'm seeing comments, not questions. I'm still about halfway through.
Yeah, if anybody, I'm going to go all the way to the end if anybody has any questions. Okay, here's one. Do you guys fix speakers as well?
We do not. No, we do not do
Okay.
anything with subwoofers at all.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people ask us if we do trade-ins with them. We don't take subs in on trade. We know what we're good at, and we try to stick to what we're good at.
Yeah, makes
Subs take up
sense.
too much room too.
And
I
shipping.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that do subwoofer refills too that are very reputable. So
Man, that is one thing I forgot to ask you guys that I intended and didn't put in the questions, but people shipping stuff to you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know that you guys get stuff that's like in a cardboard box with no packing material all the time, don't you?
That would have been a good one.
No, everyone
It would have been a good one. I'm sorry I forgot that one because
Yeah, we get stuff that's scary, no packing whatsoever. And I mean, you're not talking about a little bit of money here either. You're talking about thousands of dollars, and they'll send it in a USPS flat rate with nothing on the end of it and expect it to get it here in one piece. And we've had people get mad at us saying that we broke it when it got here.
Oh, it's too bad that we're not still on the podcast because I have another story. and hold, it relates to the story, to the other two stories. It's the same guy.
We can add it in, so go ahead.
Okay, so the same guy that we had all those issues with his 6Ks and stuff, and that I'm not sure he might have had a lot of money, like I had mentioned, but he certainly didn't care much about his equipment because, you know, I try to tell everyone, pack your equipment, pack your amplifier like they're going to try to destroy it, like FedEx is going to try to destroy it. And this guy didn't care. He just took his two 6Ks with nothing dividing them, put them next to each other, loose in a box with packing peanuts. Don't use packing peanuts to ship amps. You're not going to have a good time. So he sends them loose in a box with packing peanuts, nothing in between them. Oh, they were so bad. They were, and I messaged him and he didn't care. So, well,
this guy sounds like a real problem.
yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that one because I've seen dozens of pictures posted not only by you guys but some of the other repair techs.
You've received some from manufacturers like that, haven't you, Derek?
Yes, I have. I will not say the name, but it starts with a S. And I have bought 2 different amps from them, and they both were thrown into a box with some butcher's paper that was barely crumbled up.
Yeah.
So
then you get the other end of the spectrum where you have people pack them so well that it takes us forever to get them open, and then we can't reship it the same way it came. And so we have to put it in a new box with new packing. Because nothing they use is reusable. They'll wrap the thing in like 2 rolls of duct tape.
Yeah.
yeah, I made a video a few years ago, and it was for this reason specifically because Rob and I and some of our other buddies used to buy a lot of the older amps because back when you could actually get these things cheap, just like you guys are talking about. You know, a lot of times when people would find old storage units or old car audio shops that were going out of business, they'd have amps that maybe, 20 or 30 years old, but the things look brand new. Yeah. And that's the thing that we kind of dig. So, we were getting these things shipped to us like that. So I made a video, show people how to use the pool noodles and the bubble wrap and all that stuff, protect the terminals on the end and everything. And I send it pretty much whenever I buy something on eBay. I send them a link and say, if you don't mind, can you, pack it carefully like this guy did?
Yeah. I kind of like, sometimes someone will use like their blanket or clothes.
I'm pretty sure we got a used
pillow. Like someone went to their bed and took their pillow and packed an amp with it.
Stuffed animals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've gotten stuffed animals before.
The dog now has a bunch of new chew toys.
Yeah. We got like shirts. Yep.
Well, so I seen a question here. Did you guys ever have to ship someone a box of trash?
Oh yes.
For one reason or another.
We did.
We want to hear that story.
Yeah, let's hear that story.
Okay. Yeah, so we had a guy, we got an order in, and it was for quite a bit of money.
Big order.
Yeah, thousands of dollars. And he actually caught it. The shipping address was New York, but the billing address was Illinois or something?
Like Tennessee.
Tennessee, maybe?
The reason I caught it, though, it wasn't the main reason I was suspicious is someone bought 2 Teardown 15Ks and a Sundown 7500. Right. And that order just doesn't make sense. Why would you order this? It doesn't make sense. So then I started looking.
Right. So we ended up doing some Googling and found the owner of the credit card. The guy was kind of smart and he changed the phone number by 1 digit on the billing. But when I searched for that phone number, it brought up a list of them. And I noticed that the next digit down matched that guy's name. So I ended up calling him in Tennessee and asking him if he made this purchase, and sure enough, he didn't. So yeah, instead of sending a 7500, we threw a whole bunch of broken amp parts and trash and banana peels and all kinds of stuff in the box and shipped it over there.
Dude, that's epic.
You should have put a camera in there too, like a little cheap camera, so you could have caught that guy's look on his face.
I wish someone would have done that to somebody when my bank card got stolen. Instead, someone bought like $6,000 worth of pot in California on my card.
Wow. See, he says it was somebody else.
Yeah.
Notice why he's always so calm and relaxed. Yeah, we know why.
Oh man, I'll tell my secrets.
But if you got, this is kind of related to that. Have you guys seen the video where, how people are getting stuff stolen off their front porch this time of year all the time. Have you seen the one with the guy with the glitter that spins out, and he's got the 4 cell phones? Ethan's shaking his head. Rob, have you or Troy seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Yeah,
I need to watch that video. I just saw it.
We'll link it below for those who haven't seen it. It's already got like 27 million views or something, and it just hit like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But it was pretty epic. He put a lot of time and effort into that mechanism. That's something I could see you guys doing. You know, the way you generate your dyno machines and stuff like that. You could make something. But he's got 4 cell phones, and they were all working. So that's an expensive endeavor. But it was funny. He's made his money back. Let's put it that way. With that many views, he's easily made his money back by far.
Yeah, I definitely should have put some sort of video camera or something in there.
I always thought just shipping something and having a way to record it in the box to show the whole process of what a box goes through from start to finish would be cool. But you'd have to have a pretty decent battery, and you'd probably have to do time lapse. You couldn't do regular full motion video because you couldn't record that long.
Maybe like a game camera or something, so every time it moves, it would take a shot or something.
Yep, or like a dash cam or something like that. Yeah.
You know, Derek, I got a couple broken iPhones. Maybe we can do something here.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we had any more. Yep, that was the question. Will you? Yeah, we kind of already answered this one, but the question about Brazilian full bridge, it says, will you be or are repairing Brazilian? And so you stated already before that you didn't, but is it something you would consider maybe if they get really popular? Or
Banda, I don't have a problem with Banda at all.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the way things are moving towards. So I think we're gonna have to adapt and start doing more of them. They are becoming more popular, so I think we are gonna just have to go that way. But we'd like to start out slow and become really familiar with them before we advertise that we're taking them in on a full scale basis.
gotcha.
So question I should have thought of earlier is, do people actually send cheap crap amps to get repaired?
All the time.
Like the ones that I just tested a $65 one.
Yeah, we turn down most of them, but sometimes they have sentimental value to them,
Right.
and they don't care what it costs. They don't care if it's 4 times what they paid for the amp. They want it back because it was their brother's amp or something like that. So we have done ones like that.
Yeah, I actually turn down a lot of amplifiers every day, like more than people could probably imagine how many amplifiers we don't take in. And a lot of them are just because I try to explain to the customer, it really doesn't make sense. Once you factor in your shipping and repair costs, it just doesn't really make sense getting this repaired versus what you can buy new now. So, but yeah, people do try to send in, everything.
The Boss 4Ks coming in droves. Actually, they never break because they got a excellent protection circuitry in them. Let's see. Did we see any more questions here?
Well, that's one thing I'd like to touch on too. If your amp goes into protect, don't immediately turn it back on. It went into protect for a reason, and we see people do that all the time, where it could have been a really cheap fix, and then it completely melts down the whole amplifier when they try to turn it back on.
So my story for that is I bought that $50 Boss amp to make it blow up, and that was the whole purpose of the video, that I was going to test it and everything, and in the end I was just going to show it like go up in smoke. Dude, I tried everything normal way to blow it up, and I could not do it. It would not. It went into protect. It would never pop the fuses. It would never sizzle and fry. Nothing. So that's when I opened it up and threw the copper inside. That took care of it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you saw one of my real old YouTube videos when I first started with a little Pioneer amplifier that I kept.
Where you fried the egg?
Yeah, I kept disabling all the protection and getting it so hot it would fry the egg, and that thing took forever to die too. And it didn't just die; it just kept getting lower in power until it finally had nothing left. So it was a very slow, painful death.
That was epic, frying the egg.
Yeah, you guys got quite a few videos like that I think deserve more views than they have right now. And I feel the same way about some stuff that me or Derek do. It's like you put so much work into something, so much thought, and you're like, oh man, this is gonna kill. And no one gives a crap about it. They only care about the dumb stuff that you don't care about.
Yep.
Yeah, you never know what's going to be popular unless you're EXO and you lay on 18-inch subs.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was epic.
That's
That
just
was
epic.
awesome.
I mean, that's always going to be epic. There's no way around it. Yeah, I didn't see
That
any
was pretty.
more questions. Yeah, the glitter bomb. They did say that.
Oh, we
Okay.
did.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
know how much. Another amp we shipped out. We knew the guy.
Oh yeah,
It was
be
a
careful.
Yeah, it was an old NS1, but we had the 3D printer at the time, so we ended up, huh?
Say anatomy.
Yeah, so we printed out a whole bunch of little male anatomies, male appendages, and filled the amplifier full of them, and then shipped it out to him.
Like
So-
a lot, like a couple hundred.
Yeah, it sounded like a maraca when you shook it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we ended up getting that amp back a couple years later for repair, and they were still stuck in various parts of the amplifier. We were still finding them years later. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That was for a friend. That wasn't like
Right, we wouldn't do that to a customer.
Yeah, it was like a guy we knew well. And,
Should have had some left for the guy who stole the credit card.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a good one.
Yeah. So somebody asked about upgrades. Do you ever get asked? Now I know this may be something more along the lines of an SQ related amp, because I know sometimes people want to upgrade op amps. You know, they want to obviously recap with some real fancy Nichicons or something, and maybe change out some of the other internals. Do you guys do any of that type stuff, or usually not?
Not really. We don't get asked a lot for the SQ side of it anyway. We usually just get asked, can you make this, 3K put out 5? But, and it's not really that easy to make it put out a lot more power. It's changing the entire power supply.
yeah, upgrading
for the most part.
Upgrading these amps. I think a lot of people are like more familiar maybe with more like vehicle mechanics and stuff like that. So you think, oh, can you upgrade my engine? Can you put a higher compression piston in it? Can you, port and polish? Can you do stuff like that? Can you change my crank? Things like that. And so they think, oh, can you upgrade my amplifier? But it's not the same thing. It's redesigning an amplifier is what you're asking me to do, and you're not ready to pay the price to have your amplifier redesigned.
Yeah, there are ways to do it, and we did it a little bit on the NS1s. We upgraded them from 6500 to 7500 for a couple friends of ours, but honestly, the cost wasn't really worth it. I can't remember why he wanted that, for the space or something.
Yeah, one person wanted it for the space.
He wanted a 7500, but in the more compact design of the original NS1. So that's why we did that. But
don't ask us; we're not doing it anymore.
It was quite a bit of work, and it's not really worth it for the extra 1,000 watts, honestly.
And I didn't get into the acrylic backplates that you guys have done, but those look really, really cool. I can't believe we didn't mention that. We'll add this into the podcast as well, but you've got several different models of Sundown. It looks like that you build these acrylic panels for.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll link those in the video description so people can see them. Do you guys have any plans to do any different models, or are you just trying to kind of test out the waters and see how it goes?
All the time. People send us, as long as we have the exact dimension, or they send us the amp or the back plate or something, we'll make pretty much anything. So we actually make more custom ones than we sell of the ones that we already have made. So
we've done some. We did a really cool one, I thought, for a custom one. It was an eye candy one, and it's on our Facebook page. Videos on there. I think that's really cool. Go on our page and check that one out. I mean, I think all the ones we do are cool, but I really liked how that one came out.
yeah, it was more elaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do the LED add-ons and stuff like that too. We have packages on there. So.
Yeah, it's too bad, amplifiers are hidden. When I say hidden, I just mean the guts, because a lot of cases they're really cool to look at, and I think even for people who are not into audio, if you open your trunk and show them some amp guts, they're like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just how they say it too. That's how Rob says it after his $6,500 worth of stuff that was stolen, right, Rob?
Man, you put me on blast out there.
Nobody's listening. It's okay.
No, nobody's worried about the truth. They're only worried about what you say right now.
Well, this is true. You do have to watch what you say.
It doesn't remember what happened. It remembers how we remember it happening. Like you breaking the Savard excursion.
Yes, which I didn't do. So mounting amps to an enclosure with the grommets, do you think that's okay, or is that still problematic with all the vibration?
The screw still conducts all the vibration through it, so it doesn't matter if you put a piece of rubber under it. It might help a little bit, but the screw is still a solid object between the two. The only ones that work okay are the actual vibration dampeners that are only rubber between them and they're threaded on each end. Those are the only ones I think that would be.
So the PSA would be just mount your amp somewhere where they're not attached to the sub box.
Yeah, somewhere else. Just put it on a piece of wood or something. Anything. It's not attached to the box.
Unless you're running like 400 watts like I do to my subs.
Yeah.
I mean, any of the small systems. At the shop I worked at for 13 years, we put amps on boxes all the time, but you're talking like 250 to 500. Not really. We never saw any of those back. There wasn't enough there to do any damage. To touch on the plexiglass thing, I know amps have been doing that forever, all the way back. The old US amps and stuff had the plexi backs. But how come no manufacturers made it so you can actually mount the thing the other way? You can actually see the plexi back. You always cover it up anyway, unless you come up with some way to mount it upside down.
Which we did.
Yeah, which we did. We made some to do that with. But I wish it was that way where you could flip the end plates over or something.
I think a lot of them they just had the little cheap, flimsy metal tabs that you could just enough to stick it out to mount it upside down. That's it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
I think what a lot of people did too was they had the beauty panel and they just mounted the amp to the back of the panel. And that way it just kind of showed through. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it doesn't make sense they wouldn't have it so you could just flip around the end plate or something so you could mount it. But
yeah, so that's another thing we sell too, is we sell inverted mounting feet for a lot of the amps that we do the plexi backs for. So they actually bolt onto the end plates and they let you screw it in upside down.
sweet. So somebody's asking, and I don't know if you want to get into this, but the difference between the Brazilian amp and the regular Class D. I mean, BearVids has a pretty good video where he goes over that some. I don't know if you guys don't want to talk about that, that's fine.
That's a
question.
Subject.
Pretty deep subject. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
a lot of differences.
I will say, as far as like,
did you hear that, Rob?
Yeah,
That was the
we're good.
Brazilians again.
Yeah, it is.
They
It's the Brazilians.
every time you start talking about them, man, your microphone goes crazy.
Have you guys checked your network?
So as far as like the Brazilian amps go, without getting too deep into it, like, so Troy was mentioning how they do use like really nice output devices, like they're really expensive and they're really highly rated. But the issue is you're still in your, if it's a TO247 or whatever case it's in, you're still limited to the heat dissipation possible in that small of a case for an output device. So even if you get higher voltage, there's only so much wattage, there's only so much heat that you can actually dissipate through those devices. And the Brazilian amps tend to use way fewer of them because they do use nicer ones that are really high voltage capable, but the cooling just isn't there.
And they use really tiny cases too, which doesn't help.
And they use really small cases, which further limits the actual heat dissipation capabilities.
Yeah, we always recommend a fire extinguisher when you install a Brazilian amp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that you when you design things, they need to have headroom. You need to have, a lot of the way the older amps were designed, they were designed to play at 75% of full power for a given amount of time before they went into protect. So sure, you might hit whatever these big numbers are, but you've got to have the heat has got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? You can't, it's not magic. So people just have to realize that if you want big power, you have to have a way to dissipate all the heat, and you have to have the output devices to support it. And if you don't, then, you're just playing with fire.
Exactly. Yep.
Literally.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
cool.
I think a lot of us we kind of trick ourselves, or some people trick themselves in believing, oh, well, this amp says 5,000 watts, but it's only got 140 amp fuse. You know, is it like physics? It's just, you can't, you got to pay a price one way or the other.
Yeah, so it's right. It says 5,000 watts, and it might do it, but for how long? And that was kind of something on the 3K roundup you did. I'd like to see them all put on a stress test. I have a feeling that if you did that, if you put them on there and put them at, say, half of rated power or half of the power they produce, and you wanted to see how long they lasted for, I have a feeling that the standings will come out a lot differently, and the Sundown might have been in a much different place for how long it could go sustaining its output power.
Yeah, so the the whole reason I do the tests like I do is really just comparing things in a way that is not let's see. I try to make it scientific, but you're right. There are some things that could be done to show different levels of scientific testing. So, showing the dyno test, the runs, the dynamic burst, all that. That's just one aspect. Obviously, I'm hoping in the future to be able to bring subwoofers into the mix too, and like you said, run them on stress tests and things like that. That's definitely, and not talking about that in the test is mainly just because it's testing using that one aspect. But you're right. There's a lot more to it than just finding out which one has the most power for 10 seconds. There's definitely a lot more to it.
When we test an amp after repair, we always bring it up to a certain temperature and then let it cool down and then back up to that temperature. And we do that 2 or 3 times, as well as like full power burst. But some amps, it's a huge difference between how fast they get to that temperature versus other amplifiers. Some of them will shut it down before it even gets up to temp because it's been on the bench for a half hour and it just isn't getting hot. And then other amps, it's less than a few minutes and you got to shut it back off because it already reached full temperature.
Yeah, it's hard. Quality can't be shown by numbers. It's just got to be by experience and people seeing like, hey, these amps are dependable, these amps aren't.
Yep,
that's true.
And a lot of times, wattage, you might have something that says 400 watts. You put on subs, it just sounds better, and you get a different experience, versus something that, like in my opinion, I really hate the way those Brazilian amps sound. But that's just to me, that's just me versus even a Class D or a Class AB for a sub.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words, right? It's just something you have to hear. But they they definitely sound different to me too, especially at the lower levels, like with my single little 12-inch sub that's only can handle like 600 watts RMS. It's really different sounding. But you have to kind of hear it yourself to understand that. You can't portray it in a video by any means, but I try to stay away from the things that are opinionated. But sometimes I give my opinion, but I usually give the caveat that I'm a big dummy, so nobody listens to my opinion anyway. But, well, cool. I don't see... I think we're pretty much done with the questions. Yeah, cool. Well, thanks, guys. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedules. Ethan, good luck with the rest of your schooling.
Okay.
Troy, keep hammering it out, brother, and we'll share this for you guys, and hopefully we'll get you some more customers so you can get some more amps. Maybe there's another company out there that says, man, we need somebody who can repair our amps for us too, so get you guys some more work. And keep you plenty busy, so you have to hire some helping hands around there.
Right.
Good deal. Well, we will sign out for tonight. Thanks everybody for joining on YouTube. Y'all have a good week. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.
All right.